Hello, my fellow teachers. Many teachers struggle with classroom behavior. And we're not talking about extreme situations, but everyday kind that slowly drains you. And instead of actually teaching, you spend most of the lesson trying to hold the room together. That's exactly why I recently made a video about a few concrete things teachers can do to turn a chaotic classroom into a more organized, calmer, and more cooperative space. And under that video, one comment appeared that I want to respond to today because I know many teachers feel exactly the same way. A teacher wrote something like this: teachers are always blamed for the students' behavior, but it's actually the parents. They didn't raise these children properly, and now teachers are dealing with the consequences. And I want to say this clearly at the start. I understand this comment, and it's not completely wrong. But it also doesn't explain everything we see in real classrooms. Yes, how children are raised matters. Family environment matters. But a classroom is not a home. A classroom is a different social system. It runs on different rules, routines, and expectations. And children don't walk into school as one fixed version of themselves. They adapt. In fact, children are remarkably good at adjusting their behavior when expectations are clear, consistent, and enforced calmly. And this is everyday classroom reality. Let me give you a very typical example. You have a student who, and I'm sure you have seen it when you were young as well, who constantly talks, who interrupts, who gets out of their seat and seems unable to focus. Then that same child goes to another lesson with a different teacher later that day, and suddenly they're sitting, they're waiting, they're not disrupting, they're following instructions. Same child, same parents, same day. What changed wasn't upbringing. What changed was the system the child walked into. Children simply test unclear systems. When instructions change every lesson, when rules are explained but not consistently enforced, when consequences depend on the teacher's mood, sometimes behavior is ignored, sometimes punished. From the child's perspective, the system feels unpredictable. So they test it. They're testing because they're trying to understand where the limits actually are. And this happens all the time. You say, okay, everyone, listen. Some students stop. Some keep talking. You repeat, guys, please listen. A few more stop. One or two continue. And then you either continue talking over noise or snap. Let's just be honest. And what the students learn in that moment is not the instruction. They learn that listening is optional. And they didn't learn it from the parents. They learned it from the boundaries you're setting. Now, compare that with a classroom where instructions are short and always phrased the same way. Silence is taught and not assumed. The teacher waits instead of talking over noise. The same behavior gets the same response every time. At first, students resist. They test harder, but very quickly something shifts. The room gets quieter, transitions get faster, students relax because they know what's expected. That's not parenting. That's classroom structure. It has nothing to do with parenting. But what's also important is that structure alone is not enough. Teacher-student relationship is also important. When we talk about relationship in the classroom, it's often misunderstood. And this is not about being friends. It's not about jokes or being liked even. Relationship is about felt care. A child needs to feel, this adult cares about me, even when I mess up. And that changes behavior more than any rule ever will. Okay, let's think of an example. A student interrupts again. Everyone looks. In one classroom, the correction sounds like, how many times do I have to tell you? The child hears, I'm the problem. In another classroom, the correction sounds like, "Stop, sit down." And later quietly, "I know you can do it. Let's try again." Same boundary, but the second version carries care. The child hears and feels, "I'm not rejected, I'm guided." And children don't feel care because we say, "I care about you." They feel it in small moments. They feel it when correction is calm instead of sarcastic. Expectations don't change with the teacher's mood. Effort is noticed, not only mistakes. A child is allowed to reset without humiliation. The adult doesn't give up on them after a bad start. This tells the child, "I'm safe here." And safety changes everything. Think of a student who starts the lesson dysregulated. They interrupt, they push limits. In some classroom, that student is lost for the whole lesson. In others, the teacher allows a reset, neutral correction, no grudge, a chance to start again. Very often, that student turns the lesson around. Not because they suddenly want to behave, but because they feel someone hasn't given up on them. That is care. And we have to remember that children are not adults. They're not supposed to just know better. So when behavior appears, it's often an unmet need, a lack of skills, or a reaction to inconsistency in the system. So behavior is information. It tells us something is missing, not that the child is bad. Children don't misbehave on purpose in the way we imagine. They react with the tools they have. And our role is to help them build better ones. Of course, this doesn't apply to everything. Untreated ADHD, neurodivergence, serious emotional difficulties, those need additional support. But for many everyday classroom behavior issues, the adult system makes a huge difference. And recognizing that is powerful. So when I talk about classroom behavior, I'm not saying teachers are the problem. I'm also not saying that parents are the problem. I'm simply saying that teachers are part of the solution, just as parents are. But if we're talking about classrooms are a powerful place where if there are clear, consistent, calm, and caring teachers, children usually rise to meet the expectations of the system. They will not do it perfectly, they will not do it instantly, but they will do enough to change the atmosphere of the lesson. Okay, that's it from me for today. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that this topic resonated with you. If you have anything to add to what I have said, please leave the comments down below. If you liked the video, please hit subscribe and like the video too, because that helps the channel a lot. And until the next video, happy teaching. Bye.